Alright, for everybody that was thinking they was going to get to see me do a timber cutting video, you can. But there's not going to be no sound to it because I want to do a voiceover on the video to do a little bit of talking on some contract timber cutting that a couple people's been interested in, about how I got set up and the ins and outs about it. And I'm going to try to cover the bulk of it. At the end of this video, if you don't want to listen to me and see the timber being dropped, just fast forward to about the last 40 seconds of the video and you can see a deer get shot. I'm going to shoot me a deer and put it on here. I was going to do the whole hunt that I had edited up, but it got a little graphic in a few spots, and I had a few people that got a little sensitive on it, and it only like 67 people seen it, and I started getting the hate mail off of it, so I just went ahead and deleted it and took it back down. But here we go with the contract timber cutting. I left home at the end of 2015, beginning of 2016, and whenever I left home, I wanted to make sure that whenever I got to where I was going to cut timber, I wasn't going to be fighting junk. So I went out, bought me a brand new 661, bought 10 loops of chain, which was 72 LGX Oregon chain, and I cannot stand that chain after now that I've seen the performance of steel chain. But I started cheap. I wanted to make sure that I could get myself through a month or two before I had to go out and spend more money. I wanted to be able to work as much as I could before I had to spend a bunch of money to go out and buy more supplies. So that saw, as long as I didn't get crazy and crush that saw was going to last me a good while. It's brand new. You got to have good maintenance on the saw if you want a saw to last, and I wasn't worried about that. So the next thing I had to do was find somebody that had timber. The boy in Illinois that I started cutting for in 2016 showed me some of his timber. It had good stumpage on it, and if you watch the end of this clip, that chain actually does run up the back side of my leg. It didn't cut me, but it does run up my daggone leg. Blew the chain off. The boy had good timber, like his tree average was pretty good. That's one thing you want to pay attention to. Another thing you want to pay attention to is how hard the guy you're going to cut for is got a good work ethic. If he's just a half-ass, don't work for him. Use him as a filler. Don't try to live off of him. The boy in Illinois I was cutting for, I could have lived off that guy. He had plenty of timber out ahead of me, and he had good footage out ahead of me. And I was the only man cutting for him. I could have made a living cutting for that guy. But I come up to a dead-end road when a guy back home in Indiana offered me better pay, but had the same amount of footage per tree. But he didn't have the work ethic, and he didn't have the timber out ahead of me. He was a bullshitter. I should have used him as a filler on my rain days and stayed over in Illinois contract cutting for that boy full time. But that ain't how it happened, and I set myself up for failure whenever I did that move from Illinois back to Indiana. But I was so burnt out on staying over in Illinois, I was missing my family, and just that sucked living out of a hotel. So your next option was to buy a camper, and I did buy a camper, and I bought it cheap, and I was going to do the whole fixer-up thing. Well, that turned into a fiasco. So just don't set yourself up for failure, and I did whenever I came back to Indiana. That's where it all went south. One other thing I want to say before I get off here is, if you do the contract cutting thing, don't trust anybody's word as far as what your stumpage is throughout the week. Have that guy you're cutting for, if he's a trustworthy person, have him show you what his slips are bringing each week. You don't have to know what he's getting off the timber. Just have him show what's the footage that's been hauled. Don't go off of somebody's word. Well, it looks like you cut about 60,000 foot. Bullshit. You need paid for every damn foot that went on that truck that went to that mill. Whatever that guy got paid for is what you need to be paid for. Don't trust anybody's word on that. And I learned that whenever I left Illinois and I came back to Indiana. I told that guy here in Indiana, whatever you get paid for is what I'm going to get paid for, and I want to see every damn slip that you get as far as what you're making on your timber. And he did, he showed me, and that's how I got paid. But he just didn't have the work ethic or the drive in him to go produce the footage that I needed. He was a half-asser. But with all that being said, don't be afraid to do it. And make damn sure you got yourself some insurance. Don't go out there and be a damn hero and try to do all this without insurance. It took me about 4 months before I was able to get insurance, but once I was able to get it, I went and got it. What else? This here's about the end of it. My deer hunt's fixing to come up. Make sure you got the footage. Make sure whoever you're cutting for has the drive. Make damn sure you're getting paid for everything that you cut. And make damn sure you're safe and you got insurance. If you can do all them things and you can work around the weather and you know what you're doing as far as cutting timber, you can be successful at it. Don't come up and sell yourself short. The best money I ever cut timber for was 4 cents a foot. The cheapest I ever cut timber for was 2 cents a foot. And I was driving too damn far to be cutting 2 cents a foot timber. But it was the end of the year. It was turning into mud season. And I needed to finish out my year. So that's why I done it. It wasn't because I was starving. It's because I wanted to finish my year out before I went full-time working for Tater at the end of 2016, going into 2017. I didn't want to run out of work. I wanted to make sure that I could say I did it from start to finish the whole year. And I did. I just stuck my foot in my own ass whenever I left Illinois, taking somebody's word that they had timber in Indiana and they didn't. And I'm not putting any names out there. Nobody needs to know any of the names of the guys I work for. There's Brutus. All right, everybody. That's a deer hunt coming up next. Later on. There she is. Smoked her ass. Look at her going down. Daggone, there's another one. $2.70, put the hammer on that little doe. Be some good eating, boys.